All right. Jesus, that is loud. Hello, hello, everybody. Thank you very much, those of you that have stayed. I know there's awards going on the other side, so this is the fun side of the room, so you're more than welcome to stay here, because we don't need to play by the rules over here. That's the great part. I'd like to introduce you to Pelumi, who is not only the founder of the Newbie Network, but a lot more than that, and we'll get into that in a second. We have a staggering 15 minutes, so we're going to run through everything we have. There's a little bit of a toy here as well that we'll introduce you to in a second, and we'll run through everything else. Pelumi, let me start with a very simple one and a very easy one. You've been in Dubai for 2 years, you said?
2 years, yeah.
Okay,
2 years.
So Nigerian background, close heart in London. What does Dubai feel like?
Dubai is that perfect balance, you know? It's
Yeah.
like, it has a bit of the Lagos kind of like hustle culture, you know, striving for better,
Yeah.
and the London structure to it. So it's getting that level of pushing constant excellence. I feel you cannot be mediocre while staying in Dubai.
Yeah.
There's just that essence of getting better. I love it out here. The
Yeah.
system works, so it just makes sense to be here.
BA or Emirates? Be honest with me. Be honest with me.
The last one I took was a BA.
Yeah, and how
I
that,
am an Emirate girlie.
and how'd that go?
Are we really doing this?
No, we're not. No, we're not. Pelumi, before we get into kind of what you've been up to
Yes.
and the story behind this little guy right here, the first thing that, and I'll break the tide here. We have never met before prior to the last couple of days. I looked you up and I looked up the website that you guys have. I can only recommend those that haven't checked it out. And there's a sentence, and I'm going to have to read this from my phone. Forgive me. There's a sentence on there that stuck with me. It says, "The magic is in the doing."
Yeah.
Walk me through what that sentence means to you, and why is it such a central part of what you've done?
It's my life motto.
Yeah.
You know, I, for a very long time, always waited for the perfect time, everything being right, having the right gear. And I realized that through doing, clarity comes, and not the other way around. A lot of time we wait to get clarity and then take action. But when you take action, then you get clear on what you want to do. And there's this quote, it's about, you know, thinking about what you're going to do isn't doing the thing. Wondering, umming, and ahhing isn't doing the thing, but actually doing the thing is doing the thing. So I really believe that when you want to go from point A to B, once I started taking that mindset, it birthed a lot of things, from the drive from London to Lagos to growing my global audience. It was taking that action, messy action, never perfect, but always worth doing. So
fast forward a couple months, couple years later, here we are in Dubai. You've been to 90 countries, from what I've been told. Yes, you're a true travel content creator. You've seen the world inside out. Let me, aside from Nigeria, because that would be too easy.
Okay.
Give me one or two places that, in your opinion, get far too little recognition. Places that you fell in love with when you went there. Can be from the London to Lagos trip, but we'll come to that in a second.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be
any beer. A little bit of a travel tip here for us.
Honestly, I think now people are catching up to it. Eastern Europe. If you're thinking about Albania, Montenegro, those places where like people were like, what am I gonna do there? You know, it was all the France and Spain that got the spotlight. Yeah. But people found that these places, you don't need to go looking for culture. It almost slaps you in the face. I call it affordable luxury too as well. Yeah. Back, we're talking 4 or 5 years when I visited, it really was very affordable to be in such amazing, stunning landscapes. Within the African continent, I always recommend Namibia. Okay. Incredible landscape. It's one of my first that actually planned to London to Lagos as a road trip, because when I was researching Namibia, they're like, oh, you have to, you know, rent a car is the best way to explore. So I remember renting a 4x4 and just driving 2 weeks, doing like a road trip across it, and it was stunning. Okay. You know, when you run out of vocabulary, all you say is wow, 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 you know. Asia, definitely now, a lot of Vietnam is taking a lot of buzz now, especially as a digital nomad. Da Nang as a city, especially because it's got the beach and everything. But yeah, beautiful. I can keep going. Don't make me start this. So beautiful places.
So if we move away from the places that you know stuck with you and come to something, a very concrete journey that you've done, which is arguably what you're fairly well known for, is that journey, and that's also it leads me to the little guy right here. So would you talk to us just in a couple of sentences on what brought about about London to Lagos. What was the journey like? From there was quite a severe car crash at one point in time, so it wasn't all peachy and
No,
it wasn't any of that. And kind of what you took from that story, because it is and I recommend there's a YouTube video out there as well, which I've looked at. It's quite the story. So walk us through it.
London to Lagos was honestly me trying to connect the two places I consider home. I was born in Lagos, I grew up in London, and every time I just flew this 6 hours journey from one destination to another.
Yeah.
And being from the continent, I realized I haven't really explored the African continent. I was trying to do quite a few things. Number one, representation. When you think about overland travel or expedition, as I like to call this kind of trip, it doesn't look like, it's not really a solo female that pops up as the first image that you see. Tends to be like van life, couples. And I was like, no, I really want to change that narrative. I wanted to show what could be possible. Representation is so important. People almost sometimes need to see themselves in such spaces to believe. And yeah, I'm also very crazy. I see it as a big compliment.
Totally wouldn't have thought that.
I tell people, call me crazy means I am doing something that some people can't even fathom doing, And yeah, it was just this idea. I shared with a few people. They were like, oh my God, that's crazy. And I'm like, oh, you cannot do it. I can't remember which of them. And I'm like, you shouldn't have said that because now I have to do it. Yeah. So yeah, I did it. It was 74 days across 17 different countries. And it was absolutely incredible. Like you said, it had the high and the lows. Yeah. And I think documenting it, people don't realize the power of social media and seeing that followership grow, people really connecting to the journey and feeling like they were part of it. And, I remember the one question that people asked was, okay, this journey is already crazy. What car are you using? And at that point, I picked up 20 different car brands. Yeah. I was like, I'm doing this trip. It's going to be amazing for your brand. And it was crickets. Yeah. And I owned a Peugeot 107, tiny Peugeot, purple car. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll just make use of this. There's the same car I've been driving for 5 years. And now she's housed in a museum in Lagos, Nigeria. I never knew I would own anything that would be housed in a museum. And that's where this little fellow comes from now.
So tell me about him. What's the story with him?
Representation, like I said, I was always inspiring, and I still do. Like, women are my main target. They're just showing that it is possible. You don't have to be boxed in. But the next generation also need that inspiration. I realized that adventure, creativity can be from the lens of Lumi, this small, underdog, underrated character that can go traveling across the world. So we're rolling that out with the book in December. So I'm really excited for that.
I was going to say, there's a book coming as well, which we don't want to fail to mention. Yeah, there's a sign-up link on the website, ladies and gentlemen. Just going to leave that there for you. So talk to me. A quick follow-up question on that one. Talk to me when you did this trip. What was the kind of the point, or was there a point in time where you realized, oh shit, this is actually getting, this is getting a lot of attention now. There's people following the journey along. There's people excited about it. It was
74 days.
Just over 70 days. So that's a considerable amount of content that you've created. Talk to me. Was there like a certain point in time where you thought, wow, this is really picking up more than I thought it was going to?
It picked up momentum straight off the bat.
Okay.
The momentum I expected was at the end, but right from the get-go, I think from the announcement video is one of my most viral videos, almost 5 million views, and people were like, what are you talking about? First of all, there's bodies of water, so you're definitely lying because you cannot cross these two continents. And I'm like, there's something called the ferry.
There's this thing called ship.
You can, load that up, within 45 minutes, you'll cross the body of water. So really just informing people of these things. It's possible. You can really go for it. But yeah, the momentum was just the coverage from global brands and just kind of like supporters, naysayers, but really true supporters of people just saying, I see you, I believe you. There's a particular message that stuck with me, also I've stuck with me past the trip, was this email from this 70-year-old woman. And she was like, Pelumi, I'm 70. For so long in my life, people have told me that I couldn't do things, and I believe them. Now I've seen you do this trip. I will start living from this day. And that is what the journey was about. It was really showing people what was possible for them. And
And what did you learn as a content creator? So set aside the emotional component and the fact that it took off eventually, and obviously you got quite the recognition for it, and rightly so. What are some of the things that you've taken away as a content creator that perhaps are worth passing on? Style, authenticity are some words that come to mind.
So many things. Take yourself seriously. When I got this was serious, I quickly hired a team because I knew I couldn't be driving and editing videos and posting at the same time while being by myself. So really seeing it as a company straight off the bat, and where we position ourselves, what is the messaging and things like that. Consistency will always beat anything. It's that showing up every single, people knowing that you will be there. And I know authenticity is being thrown around, but really, there are videos of me crying on the internet and like, Lord, that's it. I can't take it back now. But it was really trying to show the ups and downs. I wasn't making it picture perfect, and people connect to that. They don't want just the perfect story. They want to see a real human going through a real experience, and that was very important for me to show.
One of the interesting parts of your story and kind of the way that you've created the Numi network or this whole story around what you've done is obviously there's an element of female empowerment in this, and the fact that you're a solo traveler, but you're also a lady traveling by yourself, which per se is not something that the world has seen perhaps as much as a guy doing it, just for the sake of the argument. Was that ever a topic, or was it just at some point did it just become whether I'm a lady or a gentleman doesn't really matter, I'm just doing this because it's a story I want to tell and it's something I want to create, or how do you see that? Because is this whole male female thing still a thing in the content creator world?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Even more so, I had to even deliberate with the whole being the first black female solo. It was always kind of like, which one am I going for? What is the important message to pass on? But definitely there is that difference. Even the lived experience, going through the borders, the way the male will be treated compared to me as a female was just starkly different. So really just sharing that lived experience, time of the month, just things that we biologically go through that a male might not have to go through that.
Sure.
But I think more importantly, it was just showing that was possible. I think we definitely live in a society, and that's why I tell people, you cannot disqualify yourself as a female, because we live in a society that tells us, this is what you have to do, this is our life expectation, this is the box you have to be in. So always challenging that. But yeah, it's really saying that, and people connect. I think that's the message I get. It's like,
they connect with it.
I connect with it on those levels, so yeah.
In the interest of time, final question. Just like that, 50 minutes have gone. So
fun.
it is a breath of fresh air speaking to you, Pelumi. Tell me, and this may sound like a very silly question, but why? Why all of this? What's the motivation behind it? What's next as well?
Yeah.
You've talked a little bit about it already, but give me those two ones as kind of a final wrap up. Why? How? When did this start? Where did it start in your head? And what can we see in the future?
I love to answer it with why not. It's
very good. Yeah, and I'll take that as an answer.
I believe that when you have an idea, run with it, because it's never yours exclusively. Have you ever thought of a brilliant idea and then someone else goes and do it and you're like, damn, I had that same idea. It's a privilege to be able to live so freely and having those opportunities. There are a lot of places or destinations that people don't have that freedom, so being able to exercise that freedom is a joy. But more importantly, just again, that representation, that female empowerment, that that joy of seeing the world. I think, it's a privilege. I always tell people, the reason as human we don't have roots and instead feet is because we should be exploring, we should be seeing this place. And I guess that's what this whole conference, that hospitality aspect of it, of, being able to have newness and cultural immersion and everything. And more so, the journey within the African continent was changing that narrative, which usually is on the negative side of people saying, it looks like this and it feels like this. And I remember one particular video showing Yamoussoukro, the biggest balistica in the world. And we're like, that's in Africa? I was like, yes, in Ivory Coast. You can go visit. So really what people perceive of what the African continent is. I think as a continent, we're very ripe for harvest.
100%.
In terms of people seeing the investment opportunities, they're seeing the population growing, they're seeing talent from music to fashion to just, creativity, tech. So it's just that pride of showing what is the other side of the coin that we don't get to see quite often in conventional media.
Yeah. a breath of fresh air. Thank you for your time, Palumi. Thank you for being at
so much for
FHS, and we'll see you
having
soon.
me.
Thank you
And
so much.
thank you for coming,
Thank you,
guys.